Swiggity sorty, let's get that booty.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Slim Cogcast this week, and I'd like to catch y'all up on what we've been doing for the past 6 days. We're still in the middle of spooky season, and I'm gonna let you know from the jump that we hadn't been watching any anime this week, so we can't really review that, but we can jump into the few things that we have been doing and some of the news that's been going on. So starting off, one of the things that we got on the list in order to check out is this latest Batman movie. It's supposed to be a choose your own adventure type deal and whatnot, and we're going to be looking into giving that a view, of course, because we got to be about the bat. But also initially, I'm having a hard time catching back on to Burn the Witch. It really hadn't incited me to just, put everything to the side and go watch it. But I'm going to give it an effort. I'm going to give it, let's say, about 5, no more than 8 episodes. If I'm not vibing with it by then it didn't do its job. But in all fairness, let's hop into the games. Now, as you've been with us, we've been streaming some The Evil Within too, because it's spook season. And the thing about spook season, aside from it being a very clever racial joke, the choice of horror games that I like to play usually comes down to the type that really give you options. Like, I've faced some of the worst ones, especially like back when Amnesia, The Dark Descent first released. I played it, and I went the whole 9 yards with lights off, nighttime, headphones on, full blast, and all of that. And it was something, but it helped me, face horror games better. But all in all, I prefer the ones that let me make decisions that help me survive these horror games, not the ones who really just, like, if you remember around the time, let's say 2011 to 2014 or 15, there was a whole span of all those years, like half a decade, where we got nothing but indie made horror games, first person view, with some type of whatever your view is, whether it's illuminated by candle or by lantern or Outlast and the video camera. All of these methods of being able to see around you in the dark usually come with limited resources to do so. So you'd have to go and get oil for your lantern, batteries for the camera, etc., etc., or grab more candles as you go. Some would even use the lighter method and go get fuel. But the thing about that is that trope wore out so fast because of the 5 years of the same games that it just didn't do it for me anymore. Like, I have Outlast and I wanted to go ahead and give it a shot, but I can tell that the gravitas, it's evaporated, because one of the things that made Amnesia Dark Descent so great was the lantern mechanic and the insanity mechanic. And if you recall, it was about, say, if you're in a room and there's monsters around, the longer you look in their direction, even if they don't notice you, but even if you look in their direction, then you'll slowly begin to go insane, and your character will hallucinate and trip over themselves if you try to run away, things like that. So your only option, since you cannot fight, is to hide in the dark and put your lantern away. But sitting in the dark while listening to the sounds of the monsters will also drive up your insanity. So you had to balance between how long you hide and to be brave enough to get out, run, and try to stealth past them. And if you can't stealth past them, just book it, And that was a pretty interesting mechanic. It turned the entire, horror game genre on its head, and it was a pioneering move, and I always respected that. But the thing about game design and capitalism is that once somebody finds a new, unique idea, everybody copies it immediately until it's worn out. And for those who don't agree, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Mario perfected the jumping platforming mechanics, and it started an entire wave for decades on how platformers should play. And very rarely can a game deviate too far away from how Mario laid the groundworks on platforming. The same is said for 007 GoldenEye first-person shooters from way back on the 64 up until now in the PlayStation 5. First-person shooters are still the same way. When The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time came about for a 3D RPG full motion adventure game, there are games to this day that still uses those same mechanics. So that's the thing about being a pioneer. Whenever you trailblaze, all of those things are going to be copied and worn to death. Even in, dare I say, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That whole structure for online first-person shooter combat has been copied to death once it got its success. So this is just how things go. And one could also say the same for Cyberpunk 2077 is coming, while it learned its things. I guess you could say it's derivative of The Witcher, which improved upon the structure of Skyrim and other, what do they call them? ARPGs? When the first two Witcher titles were unique in their own way, but not exactly very well made, The Witcher 3 came along and reinvented that entire thing. And now we have more choose your own adventure, make your own choices, open world adventure games that pretty much, pay respects and homage to that. So we can't really be mad at it, but that's just how it goes. Fighting games are a huge example of this as well. So anywho, moving forward though, thus far, I want to say I'm about at least, if not halfway, I'm right before halfway done with the Evil Within 2, and I can give you my basically the first impression that I get from this game is just I feel a lot of the Resident Evil influence being carried over, especially Resident Evil 4, but it didn't pull away from the original Resident Evil, philosophy, where it's like it's literally survival horror. But you might have to take this with a grain of salt because I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. So it's actual survival and there's hardly ever any ammo to pick up. But I like that because it makes each encounter, I could see zombies walking around in the street and I would 9 times out of 10 choose to sneak around them or try to stealth kill them and not shoot them. So I won't attract any extra noise and I don't want to fight a whole army. And I love the way that plays out. The game is incentivizing me to make survival choices rather than make video game choices like, oh, I have this gun and this much ammo, I should be fine, let me just go in guns blazing without considering the weight of the situation. So I love that, and I'm enjoying it thus far. The crafting system, however, I will admit, even on the hardest difficulty, you get so many resources that you literally can't, there's no way you can't always have some healing items on hand. Though I will admit it's still early, so I don't want to say that too early because the herbs that you have to pick up in order to craft the healing items seem to be limited and they don't respawn on the map. So I think there's a set number on the harder difficulty that you can, accrue and turn into healing items. So that's one thing. But that being considered, there are still other healing items as a choice. For example, you have the refillable healing item resource, which is the coffee pots at the safe spots, but you also have the med kits. So I'm pretty sure that we'd be fine. And plus I'm the type of person that I would rather abuse a checkpoint restart from dying and then restart and do the entire thing over from the last checkpoint than to use up all of my resources and just barely get by with nothing left. I'm not really, I'm a very efficient type of player. So we don't like to waste, especially when it comes to survival horror. That's usually the name of the game. That's the full rule. So anywho, I'm enjoying it. If I got that much to say, I got to say I'm enjoying it. Out of all the horror games I've played, and especially comparing it to the first game, this is the one I've had the most fun playing in a long time. I haven't enjoyed a survival horror third-person shooter, for that matter, on this level since, I guess you could say maybe Resident Evil 4, but if I were to be fair, I did enjoy 6 a little bit during co-op, but it just didn't hit as an overall package. 5, however, it's a mixed bag. It's like mediocre in both directions, solo and co-op, so I won't really just bring in that because that'll send me on a tangent. But the point is that this feels like something that's getting back to form, and I love it for that. And notice I said third person shooter. I didn't bring up Resident Evil 7 for this purpose because not only is that made by a different team, but it's also horror in a different direction. And it was still good in its own right, although it being different from the previous games in the installment. But let's get on with the next thing. Another thing that I've been playing, I'm still keeping up with the Genshin Impact lately. And Genshin really is getting to me because I feel like I'm in the end game, but it hadn't been enough content to get there, and it ain't really nothing to do in the end game. Like the bosses, the domains, the new Crucible event, all of these things feel tacked on, and it's nothing to do in the end game once you've filled out the map and done all the missions. You're literally just going to be farming and going for items in order to ascend characters and weapons, and that feels boring to me because let's say you want to team up with some friends and go and fight one of the bosses that they have set for you. But the bosses are so easy that you could solo them. And on top of that, you don't need the best weapons that they incentivize you to go and craft or, level up and ascend. So that's a moot, endeavor to even indulge in. Then on top of that, all of the bosses that are available can only be fought a certain amount of times, and they have cooldowns to respawn. Some bosses only respawn every Monday, once a week, and it costs you 40 resin to fight some of these bosses, which you are only allotted 120 resin, and I think you only regenerate 1 resin every 5 minutes or something like that. So let's say if you really were, no life the game, you could probably get you about 240 resin per 24-hour period, if my math is correct. So that means that you can only fight these bosses now, let's not forget their cooldowns for a respawn. So you could probably do maybe you can only do, depending on the cost of resin per boss, if you need rewards, you can only fight these bosses mostly once a week. And the smaller bosses, maybe once every 2 days. But the ones that actually matter and have the good drops, like the weapon prototypes and etc., is going to be once a week. That sucks. That's terrible. That's my biggest gripe still to this day, is that the resin is not enough that they give you. Of course, they give you fragile resin, which you can turn into original resin. But the fragile resin is not easily reoccurred resource. You have to I think it's very, very rare. You either get it from I think it's only event item drops and adventure level up rewards. So they're super limited and you don't really want to use those. So something has to be done about that. I say they need to at least double the amount of resin and make it a 240, and have it regenerate, I don't know, maybe just increase the regeneration rate, or just give it a longer regeneration rate, actually, since they've doubled the flat amount. Either way, there needs to be something worked out to where people can actually get actual reward out of the time put into the game. Because even the Crucible itself costs 40 for each reward on each attempt, but it only takes about 5 or 6 minutes to perform the Crucible successfully. So you could burn through all 120 of your resin in 3 attempts, less than 30 minutes. So I don't see if anybody else is okay with that. And if you are, please explain to me how you justify it so I can understand how to be psychopathic. Either way, I'm not as much of which one's the self-harm? I'm not enough of a masochist to put myself through that. So I just do what I can and do the dailies and log. I might put a little time in if I'm co-oping with some friends. I might put a little time in to get certain materials from certain bosses in order to ascend. But I think level 60 is a good cap for now. Unless I get bored and just keep going, but then who knows? I might. Who knows? But I'm really considering dropping it because it takes a little too much of a chunk of time out of each day. But I spoke about that last week. Let's move it to the next thing. And the other thing that I've been indulging in this week, new monitor. Who this? We've been testing out the monitor, and one of the first things that I noticed, not only do you need a screen closer to your eyes so it won't put too much strain, but also color depth is a huge thing. I've noticed color depth being such a difference, even in my video editing and my photoshopping. A TV can only do so much, but it's increased my productivity since I can move windows from one screen to the next and not really have to alt tab between everything. So that's super useful for one thing, and it's just made everything a lot easier. I've edited a video literally yesterday morning. I was at it for 7 hours straight as soon as I woke up, and I just edited some footage that I filmed, and I noticed that just looking at the image on the TV, and then I moved it over to the monitor, and black colors were popping out much better. Lighting was hitting different, and everything was just a little bit better. So technically, I could have not enough to be noticeable by anybody who's not really in the profession, but marginally some of my images that I Photoshop or edit could have been a little bit worse, marginally, but neglectable, a little bit worse because it wasn't displayed to me properly. Like black colors, for some reason, black pixels have to be displayed with a certain amount of backlit. How can I say? The thing about monitors is that the backlight is a full display Whereas certain HD TVs after, let's say maybe I think 2014, 15, of certain caliber HD TVs started doing full backlight LEDs, and it's something about that amount of light being able to display your blacks in a much different way. For some would say, when you convert video into flash for YouTube to display and play, what happens is what they call crushing your blacks. If you do something with like black and white or sepia, you wouldn't notice that there's a bit of a blur between, because if there's not enough pixels to differentiate where exactly is the black, the gray, and the white on screen, because those are the three colors present in black and white backgrounds, you're going to notice that it's going to blur and look a little fuzzy, and it's going to look a little worse. So, but these little things are just nerd out stuff that I won't go into too much detail, because for one, I'm not exactly a display engineer or go into the whole science of it that deep, but I do notice it when it comes to products and consumerism part of it and the technological things. Now, one thing I will say is that refresh rate is a huge thing, because not only has my performance improved, and there's no need for VSync. One of the things I noticed with images on the TV, there's a line right in the middle of the TV where it refreshes. You can tell because the way pixels work is that they display by quadrant. Anybody who's ever seen a coordinate plane in your algebra classes, it displays based on the blocks in each quadrant, and the top and bottom two quadrants on this particular TV that I have is it's almost if they render and refresh independently, because there's a line right in the middle where if images were to go across it, it'll be jarring and it'll show you like two pictures, like, you know what I mean, just coming out of sync. And I tried to, remedy it as much as I could with like VSync or what have you, but it's just only so much that hardware can do. But with the monitor, I'm not missing my shots. There's no lines to distract. Everything is working perfectly, and it's showing me exactly what's on screen at a faster rate than the refresh rate lagging behind. So this is much better for performance, and the other is better for viewing in large pictures. So I think that's a good balance for this setup. And hopefully it'll be able to help me bring better and more detailed content to you all in the future. So moving on from there, let's just hop into the news, because there hadn't been a whole lot, but that's what's been going on with the week, aside from being just busy, from playing photo shoots and some falling through. But still, we've been pretty busy. Now, first thing on the docket as we jump into the news is there's I won't call it old. Okay, is old, because this is in the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox original generational consoles, there was a first-person shooter by the name of 13 listed as Roman numerals. Now, 13 was supposed to be, it was cel-shaded, and it was supposed to be a rendition of a comic book story, and everything, all the sound effects and everything would show up like comic book onomatopoeia. So it was pretty big back in the day on the PS2 and everything. I played it myself. I think I played a PC version, and it was enjoyable. If you enjoyed the classic first-person shooters like Time Splitters and 007, you can enjoy this. Now, apparently 13 is getting a remake on the latest consoles and PC, and that's pretty interesting. So now they're going to be upping the textures. It looks a lot more detailed. If you've seen any of the older footage, it was very jagged and early in cel shading capabilities, and it was a little rough, but it kind of screams, true to the aesthetic. But I'm gonna avoid, standing and dying on that opinion, because it might be nostalgia driven. But all in all, yeah, it took me back just watching the trailer, and I might actually have to check that out, because it was fun and wasn't terrible. It take me back when things was simple. So yeah, that thing is coming. I guess I can't really shed more light onto that. Next thing on the docket, Microsoft has a very good relationship with Nintendo, but isn't making any promises. Wait a minute. Any promises moving forward? Okay, now reading this, the whole point of it was, I surmised two things from this article, but I'll give you the quotes directly. Basically, it was a small interview with Phil Spencer, and he was just stating that when Kotaku asked them the possibility of Microsoft published games coming to other consoles, and he just said that basically they're looking to see if Nintendo's going to be releasing some Microsoft IP. And basically he just said that it doesn't feel sustainable. In order to really support it, I would want a full Xbox ecosystem somewhere, and that probably means things like Live and Game Pass and stuff. So basically his whole thing is just saying maybe not, unless they'll be able to put the whole boot in. They won't be willing. So yeah, not really surprised there. But here's the important and very interesting part of the article to me, whereas they've been saying that Phil Spencer has been having some chats with Nintendo of America's president Doug Bowser, and they've been saying that we have a very good relationship with Nintendo, and I think we see our work very synergistically in terms of trying to grow the market, and it just makes it easy. Every conversation we have with them has really been easy. So what they're saying here, in my opinion, is that yes, we're getting along and we're playing nice with Nintendo in the public eye. So everybody just be happy with that fact, and let's get along. And if you Nintendo people like that, then how about you go ahead and buy an Xbox? Maybe it might be nice if you look at us in a nice light that we're getting along with Nintendo. So that's what I gather from that statement. Plus, the fact that we have Banjo-Kazooie, which is now under Rare and owned by Microsoft, Rare, and we just got Minecraft Steve, which is Minecraft owned by Microsoft. This is, it's showing off good faith that they're doing some healthy, good business practices. At least I hope, behind closed doors. Nothing is, concrete. But yeah, all I can say is we'll have to see, because to be honest with you, I've seen some memes about Master Chief being in Smash, but I don't know if it don't feel right. Because if that's the case, then might as well call up Activision and put Call of Duty Man in there or something like that. But we can't do that. We can't do that. So yeah, basically they're saying, yeah, we like the Nintendo dollar and their fans seem pretty loyal. So we want to let you guys know that we get along with who you like. That's what I gather from that. So moving on, because it's not really just great news, but it's a good bullet point to just state, hey, Microsoft and Nintendo getting along. Who would have thought? All right, PS5's fan will be adjusted with firmware updates. And just to give you a little paraphrasing of the article, basically, the fans' RPMs will be able to be, adjustable. They will be variable based off of the data that they've collected with the 3 temperature sensors on the PS5, and they're going to be using that accumulated information in order to know by game by game basis, if they need to ramp it up, what moments you need to ramp up, and etc. That way, making it more power efficient, so the fan isn't just running at max the entire time that the game is running, and also, giving it the cooling that it needs when it does need to ramp up. So this could be pretty useful. I can't really see many downsides to it. Hopefully the information that they gather would be pretty accurate though, because not everybody takes proper care of their console. I've seen some people put consoles in some very humid and heated, closed off areas. And I've seen some who actually store theirs in nice, ventilated, cool areas. And that's the whole point of it, So with that variable of how people take care of their, their H factors in the actual care of their console could, shift the data into being a little more, inaccurate than we would like. But I still find it to be a very interesting little new innovative choice to do so. But also to consider that means that the fans would probably be tied to BIOS. Hopefully that doesn't run into any issues with hardware replacement down the line. Because if they have some type of thing implemented where you can't just hot swap and buy a new fan and just, pop in a new one by opening your PS5, if they have something to bar you from doing such a thing in order to force you using warranty and, shipping it back to Sony, that's going to be rough. But all in all, let's just hope it doesn't get to that. Next thing on the docket, PlayStation responds to Backlash over PS4 party update. Now, this is something that I've been seeing everywhere. A lot of people have been paranoid about, especially all over Twitter. And basically, there's been an update to the PS4 firmware and party update, basically saying that you can take snippets of a party chat audio, and you can save like 20 seconds of the voice chat out of the last 5 minutes of the party chat voice, and you can use that 20 seconds to report someone on PlayStation Network. Now, as far as them, making moves and try to make it a more of a, I can't call it safe space, a more sheltered space for certain people online, that's understandable. But I feel like this is a bit much. As far as doing so, that's just a matter of leave the party. If it's something offensive or something you don't like, just leave the party. But now that people can be reported, now it's another system. When you bring a system like this intact with the H factor, humans will abuse this. It's giving power to the wrong people. And that's what worries me, because on the other front, that people are arguing about their privacy. Okay, when it comes to privacy, we're running smartphones every day and using Windows 10. So, and Mac OS. Privacy is nada at this point. But so I don't even want to go in that direction. But in terms of the argument for, making it a safe space, I believe this is a waste of effort. This could not even nearly be more of a wasted who asked for this type of deal. It's like, who asked for this? Nobody needed this. So yeah, if this is something that PlayStation is getting their hands into, that's beyond what they even should be involved with. This is something that belongs in the realm of personal responsibility. If there's something a person doesn't like, leave the party and go join another, and you have options to mute people. So yeah, all in all, there are other better options, and this may be a bit much. Now, unless there's a new system in play that they're going to be using for party chat with the PS5, is there something else that they didn't show us, or new features that would make it necessary, then it's understandable. But as far as what they've given us, this right here is not okay. So, but that's just my personal opinion. But that's pretty much just what's been going on. Everybody's been losing their minds over it, and they feel like they don't want the wrong people monitoring them. And I agree. Because there's some people who literally monitor and screen cap your stuff and will twist it in the wrong narrative and make you look way worse than what you were actually doing without context. You know what I mean? It happens every day. It happens every day on Twitter. So hey, no. I don't condone that. A little bit of sad news this week. A developer who made a game called Don't Make Love, available on PC and on Steam. Here we are with the devs posted in the events for this game saying in memoriam Dario Dombra, and I will read it verbatim out of respect. Dear all, it's been 3 years since the release of Don't Make Love. 3 wonderful years, full of amazing people and all kinds of emotions. This game was developed by a great human being out of the need to communicate personal experiences, thoughts, and emotions. It isn't meant to portray just a relationship problem, but also the difficulties that every one of us encounters when facing a crossword in our life. Crossroad. Dario's dream was indeed to create a game that could reflect that. Something that could be not only a short and entertaining distraction, but a small and intimate life experience. To do so, he poured his own soul into the game, to remember him and allow everyone to catch a glimpse of this beautiful soul. From today, Don't Make Love is free to download. Thanks to all of you that supported us, criticized us, and made us better. Thanks to all of those that shared their emotions with us. This game was made by Dario for all of you. Experience it, live it, with love, Giorno, Nina, and Patrick. So there you have it, right there on Steam for those who care and would like to take a look. Because I remember looking at this game when it was announced. It looked very interesting. It was kind of moving, the bit that they did show, and I'm gonna give it a shot. And I will say, rest in peace, rest in power. It's a shame to hear it happens, but it happens. And I hope that the dev team gets the opportunities in the future in the game industry that they so choose, so that, they can build off of this step into something greater, for the sake of, in remembrance of Dario, that it, would lead these people into some great things. So much love to the developers and the team. Next on the docket, Tencent has been getting even bigger and even more powerful, where over in China, Tencent wins with the merger of China's game streaming giants Huya and DouYu. And what this gives them is not only, a little more control with streaming platforms, and they can start, I believe I've reported on this before, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. But yes, this does give them the opportunity to not only have a space for live streaming, but also esports. So now they have the funding and the control to run more esports. And basically, to sum up the article, the reason for this merger is to save money in the long run, because the competing companies were spending millions in advertisement in order to. So basically, advertisement is one of the most lucrative businesses out there, and especially when it comes to what these companies spend on it in order to keep a presence. Because one of the things about business is keeping a presence and letting them know that you exist and you still have it. Like, just being featured on television tells them, okay, you have the funds and the business sense to be present next to the other big names that are shown on television. So once you stop seeing that name on TV and in billboards, etc., then you start to wonder, okay, is this company still around, etc. That's why, marketing is so strong. That's why so many people do promotions on Twitter and social media and Instagram and all things like that. So that's just how it is. It's just how it is. And it cost them so much that it was actually a good business move for them to merge. And it was also a great thing that, the competing people can, come together on an agreement and all be in the same business space, meaning gaming and technology. Yeah, that's super good. So Tencent, however, it still worries me that Tencent is getting this big, although their reach is only in China, as stated in the article. Tencent is constantly growing and growing and growing in so many different ways. It's becoming like the Sony of mobile, I guess you could say, which is their biggest market. But yeah, Tencent is getting huge and it's kind of worrying. So, but let's move on. We can't just be negative about it. Maybe it's not a big thing. Maybe they'll just have their own thing. But China's getting big. And next thing on the PC Gamer website over here, we got another article, which is an update on the lawsuit between Apple and Epic Games. And basically the ruling has been, as thus. Just to summarize, there were two things that they were going for. One was to reinstate the Epic Games Fortnite back onto the iOS store. And the judge ruled that they do not have to, since it's already in their policy and agreement by the contract, that they can remove it when necessary if they were to break the terms of agreement. And that's exactly what happened. So I expected that. But in Epic's favor, it was ruled that they could not, once after they removed Fortnite, they also, a few days later, removed the use of the Epic engine and all of the tools of the Epic engine in any game that were to use those tools from use in the iOS App Store. And that was very bad. So that's the issue. It's about the fact that they did it afterwards, and as the judge said, that it was a reactionary thing to do. But it was also a big deal because there are other games and other apps that were developed using their engine, and they didn't deserve to suffer for this unjustified behavior. So yeah, I agree with it, and it should not have happened, and it's not a big deal. So it pretty much split down the middle, kinda. It's playing out thus far how I expected, but they said that the court date to resume this, it should be up until, the trial is set for May 3rd, 2021, but a pretrial hearing will take place on October 19th. So that will be today, and we'll just have to see what happens and what is said in the articles. I'll keep you guys posted, and you'll hear about it next Monday. Or on Twitter, if you follow me over at Slamcognito Mode, it would be nice. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. But yes, lastly on the docket is, to sum it up, they let everybody, the other apps that outside of Fortnite, they use their engine. Yes, they are reinstated, and they should not be. So that's the ruling. Lastly is the Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, which is a free upgrade to PS5. If you purchased Ultimate, you won't need to purchase it again. It is a separate standalone game, a Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, which will include previous DLC characters before, and I think this current one will be purchasable DLC when it is released. The current one would be Rain, Melina, and Rambo. So yeah, pretty cool cast of characters to include in the DLC. Basically, Mortal Kombat DLC characters for MK characters, canon characters, are basically characters that aren't that important in the story anymore, but fan favorites. Because let's be real, Rain ain't that important anymore in the story, but still fan favorites. Melina's kind of the same, especially with the fact that she, she's been, is usurped the correct term here? Her throne's been taken by Kotal. So I mean, from there, and definitely not now, seeing that the story has it where Katana takes the throne. But yeah, so yeah, so you have Melina, you have Rain, they're back, and you get Rambo, which is the next blockbuster movie from the heyday era of Hollywood, and I love it. It's pretty damn dope. And I'm gonna be real, man. I gotta get this off my chest. There was a certain podcast of people that I watch. Okay, these brothers are pretty funny at times. Even though some of them give me some cap vibes, but yeah, these brothers, they get together and they talk about this stuff in the way they know how. And I was sorely disappointed when one of my favorites sat up there and said that Rambo was not a cool addition to the Mortal Kombat DLC pack. And I'm like, boy, is you bugging? Like, out of all these other characters, and what bothered me was his reason behind it was just saying, well, if you got all these people strong enough to kill gods, why you got some regular dude in a bandana and a gun? And I'm like, okay, what about Stryker? Okay, what about Jax Briggs? Okay, so we just gonna ignore the fact that Johnny Cage was a human. like he had superpowers, but them superpowers wasn't like destroy god level until Mortal Kombat X. So you feel me? And all of the horror movie characters, they were, some of them were just straight humans. Alien vs Predator, they were still mortals. Those are still mortals, you feel me? So it's like, all right, if you're gonna be on that level, then understand what Mortal Kombat is before you just, pass them type of opinions off, you feel me? In the gaming space, you gotta know your lore before you just up and judge something, you feel me? I can understand people, kind of being salty about Steve Minecraft being in Smash. I understand that. But ain't no reason to hate on Rambo being in it. It's consistent with the theme. WB movie IPs from back in the day who were like iconic heroes, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Terminator, RoboCop, all of those characters are big name blockbuster characters here. I'd be it'd be nice if they put Blade in there. But yeah, that's the deal. It's cool. All right. So just stop overthinking it. It's Mortal Kombat. It's a game where people uppercut each other through ceilings and transition to a new stage. Anyway, yeah, that bothered me, and I'm just like, bro. But one person corrected him, but it felt like, just to avoid the static, they just let it fly. But I'm like, nah, you should have pressed that nigga. He wrong as fuck. Like, you should have pressed him. But like, nah, you don't know your Mortal Kombat, nigga. Shut up, nigga. Go back to Zelda. You need to be knowing about your shit, But anywho's, that's just me rambling, going ahead and talking about some shit that's been going on. It's been crazy, y'all. But aside from all the stuff out there, y'all, just take care of yourselves, bro. Self-care, bro. That's why I say that at the end. Take care of yourselves out there. Every week I say this. Self-care, meaning clear your mind, keep a healthy thought process, bro. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, push it out. Keep going, keep motivated. The same energy that you use when you're motivated towards something, or if you want to go get drunk, or you want to go get high, you want to go eat again, the same motivation and energy you do in order to go toward that, use that energy and channel it into not do your best, not just trying to talk like it's just easy to do, but do your best to just, what I'm saying, keep yourself from dipping into that, that sad state or that depressed state. Keep yourself live. And all in all, remember the channel motto: intentions are the most important. Actions ain't nothing but loud, and words don't mean a damn thing. This has been Slim Cognito, and I appreciate y'all. Take care. Peace. All right. Hold up.
Who up? I got the fuck! Oh my god. Hey! Damn it! Oh my god.
What's going on here?
Oh my god, yo, that was too soon for that type of shit. Perfect.
Just fucking perfect. Just fucking perfect.